Trying to get myself full screen here.
All right, everybody. So today we have Doug Reed with us. He's one of the, I think, president of one of the local chapters here. So we're going to chat with him for about an hour and see how this goes.
Great. Thanks, man. Hi, everybody.
How's it going today, Doug?
Going good. Nice quiet Sunday morning, and I think a nice day at the model bench ahead of me. Sundays are usually my day to build, so yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, generally Sundays are my only day off, it seems like lately. So that's why I chose Sunday. I have oodles of time on Sunday. Maybe not the rest of the week, but and then I try to
yeah, I get it. Same here.
So what have you been working on lately?
Well, let's see. I've got 2 or 3 projects. I always keep probably at least 3 projects going, and I have got SU-25 Frogfoot that I'm working on. It's a Zebda kit, 72nd scale. So I've got that pretty active now. I have a Airfix Albatross D5, a small one, 72nd scale. That's actually going to be my first full biplane kit that I'm doing. So that one's nearing the end. It's slow. It's trying to start the rigging. So those are my main 2. I have a couple on deck. I've got a Pavehawk helicopter. Be my first helicopter build. So that's coming up here soon. I basically got it just sitting over there on the table, and then have another one going. It is a 135th T-34-85. That one is an RF Ryfield Models kit. So yeah, so I got those 4 in some stage. The Frogfoot and the Albatross I'm trying to push over the finish line.
So you mostly do armor, right?
Well, I do both armor and aircraft. Those are my primary genres I build. And, I kind of flip-flop. This last year through the COVID time, I've been in an airplane mode, so I've done mostly aircraft. But probably for the 2 years before that, I was doing mostly armor. So it just kind of varies, whatever the whims are, but I usually flop into one or the other category for a period of time.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, I do. Yeah, go ahead.
So do you like to keep them like right off the factory floor, or do you weather them up?
It's funny. For my aircraft, they're pretty fresh. It's something I need to learn to do better at in terms of adding the weathering to my aircraft. But when I get done with them, they look so good. I'm really happy with them. I really don't want to dirty them up, and they look good. The armor, though, I really enjoy the weathering. The 2 years I mentioned, last couple years before this one, I really enjoyed diving into learning how to do that. So it kind of goes that way. But I do want to do more on the aircraft side down the road.
That's cool. What do you normally use on the tanks to weather?
Recently, I've been using mostly oils and a little bit of the enamel washes, like from Tamiya and the like for some of the pin washes. But I've been reading Mike Rinaldi's books, his Tank Art series of books, and I've really kind of globbed on to the whole oils and pigments avenue for weathering. I really like it, and I did, 2 or 3 models at the end of the year before last that I was really happy with doing that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy what you can get away with oils compared to like acrylic, huh?
Oh yeah, I've tried using the acrylic weathering ones, and I just probably me, but I couldn't make them work. A lot of issues with witness lines and that type of thing with them. So I wasn't real successful with them, so I kind of put them aside. And I think the enamel washes, filters, and of course the oils I think are nice. And I like the oils. I'm not having to buy a million different enamel washes to get some of the stuff I want.
Mm-hmm. Do you do the MIG line, or you just do whatever's at Hobby Lobby or whatever?
I like the MIG line when I use those. I've got a handful of those in my drawer. For the oils, I've settled on the Abteilung, if I'm saying that right, the 502. these guys, the Abteilung 502s. I really like these for the oils. So I bought most of their line, and they're nice. They're a really fine grade pigment. I mean, you can do the same with just the artist oils from any art shop, but I like them. They were a big line for pigments. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's cool. So if you weren't going to build armor, what would be the other thing you build?
Oh, I have tried some ships. I enjoy ships. I mean, I like them. I like the idea of them, I should say. But man, it takes so long to build them that I can't. I get too many models I want to build. But I've got a couple ships I did. I did the Lexington and 1/350th a few years ago, way back, maybe 2011 or so. And I did a small 700 scale waterline Japanese ship. But I have enjoyed submarines. I've got 2 submarines I built, three submarines I've built, and I've got a few in my stash that I'd like to get to. I think they provide a nice. They're different, obviously, than aircraft or armor, so they're a nice break, and they're not as involved as a bigger ship model that way. So, yeah. So I've enjoyed those.
Oh, that's cool. So, how am I going to say this? What do we have to do to get an IPMS show, the national show here?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question, because there's been a lot of talk about that. So in terms of a nationals, it's a huge undertaking. You will need a large club or a group of clubs that can band together to put it on, because you need a lot of staff, a lot of volunteer staff. And it has to be volunteer staff that can stick together for 2 to 3 years in the planning stages as you go through it. So that's the first thing that you would really need. I know that Portland has applied in the past, and I know that Seattle has hosted them in the past. And then the second thing that you need is the venues, right? You need venues that are large enough, obviously, with the display space and things like that. But you also need venues that are affordable and provide affordable hotel space for the attendees. So that's the other conflicting thing. Room space for hotels, and then in proximity to the to where you're holding the convention. So it's a big undertaking. And probably you would need a Portland area type of thing, or a Seattle area type of thing, in which case maybe the smaller clubs in Oregon would be helping with the main Portland group, or whatever, however that would be organized.
So you've been to a lot of the national shows, right?
I have. I think I've been to, 7 or 8 of them, something like that. Yeah.
So the Seattle area would probably be better because they have that huge hangar, right?
Well, it depends on the convention space. I mean, you're looking at a standard convention center where you would host it at. And I know that they were looking at applying a few years ago, and they were looking, I think, down in the Tacoma area for the convention space. I mean, everyone I've attended, it's been like at maybe an Embassy Suites convention center type of thing, where you have the large convention space and the hotel co-located, and of course some area hotels to support it. Portland has a convention center located on the east side of the river. I'm not sure about the hotel space, how that lines up with it. Seattle, you would think there'd probably be a little bit more. Yeah, but it would definitely be in a standard business type of convention area. So
now, see, Portland, I don't know if you've gone to the I think it's the car. It used to be over by the Indy track.
Okay, no, I haven't been to that. I've been to a few shows up there, but not in that area.
But there's I think they do the car shows and stuff in it, and
okay.
Comic-Cons are the big ones for that.
Okay.
But it's like a huge warehouse looking thing. And there's usually, I think there's 2 or 3 hotels there, but
okay.
That's the only place I could think of in Portland that it could be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that or with the details around that type of thing, but yeah, the guys would have to figure that out and see what was available. And then there's a committee at the national level that actually takes the proposals, the bids, and then processes, where they want to try to select them. My understanding is I've never been part of that process, but my understanding is they try to spread it, a western coast area, more of a Midwest, Eastern. They try to spread it out over time, and I think they also look. I think it's 3 years ahead now that they project out, so they're trying to get into longer term planning for it.
It still sounds like Vegas is going to happen, though.
So far, everyone's crossing their fingers. I'll tell you, it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be huge. The pent up, it's funny. I'm on their Facebook page. They started that group, and they're pumping. They've got postings out there, and I don't know. They're thinking now it could be the biggest one ever after missing last year. So yeah, so far so good. Everyone's excited.
And that's probably been the closest one to us in a while, I think.
Oh yeah, I definitely, very much so. The only other close one, I mean, it's not even that close, was Phoenix back a couple years ago, and even that's a day and a half drive. Yeah, the Vegas one, it's the closest we're going to see probably for a while, and the venue's just perfect. It's obviously a destination type city, and anyone listening to this, man, I'd really encourage you to plan the time to go. It is an experience as a modeler that you really enjoy. It's really good. 4 days of just being a kid with models.
Yeah.
And there's the whole thing.
I seen the Tennessee one, pictures from the Tennessee one. That one looked like a really cool spot.
Yeah, we went to that one. Ron and I went, and it was really good. It was, that was probably, I mean, I think all the nationals I've really enjoyed, but all the feedback was that was the best run one they've had in quite a while. It was very good. And I think next year's in Omaha, and I've been there a couple times, and they do a very nice job as well. But yeah, Chattanooga was great. They had nice places to visit. The venue was really nice, very large display room, and large vendor areas. It was very comfortable. Hotels were good. So yeah, it was really nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And there were some great pubs in the area you could hang out at afterwards. That was good too.
All right, so plug your group, Mid-Oregon Modelers, right?
Yeah, Oregon Mid-Valley Modelers. We represent the Mid-Willamette Valley. So we cover kind of Corvallis, Albany, out to Lebanon. We have some members a little bit from north and south as well. And we have been in existence. The group was founded in 2005 by Tim Schubert. Used to be called IPMS Albany. And we changed the name a couple years ago when we really branched out because we lost our meeting place in Albany. So we had to move to Lebanon. And we meet at the Veterans Home in Lebanon. And we were before coronavirus hit. So yeah, we've been in existence over 15 years now. Pretty steady group, smaller club, obviously, but pretty steady. We're now meeting on Zoom. So every Thursday night at 5:30, you can plug into a build night that we do. And we've got a Facebook group. You can search for Mid-Valley Modelers on Facebook and plug in there as well.
Yeah, there's a really cool group of guys in that page.
Oh yeah, you enjoy that? Yeah, it's a good group. Yeah,
it's really interesting, and it's not just like tanks,
right?
Like, I mean, I do a bunch of the Warhammers, cars, planes. I do a little bit of everything, so I kind of fit in your group a little bit better than the others.
Yeah,
up and down the.
Yeah, we try to encourage that. Mostly, let's face it, most of us are military type modelers. But no, there's a good variety. We got Galen does quite a bit of the Warhammer stuff. We've got guys that do some of the sci-fi. A few Gundams come up now and then. Mostly aircraft and armor, as you'd expect. But no, we're very open to a variety of genres. Matt Schubert's a big Gundam builder in our group, and he's probably our one guy that does cars consistently. So yeah, it's great. Glad you feel that way. It's been fun.
Yeah, I want to get that guy on this too, and then
good. He'd be great. He definitely would. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty cool guy. So your meeting place there at the Veterans Hall, that's a really unique place and they encourage all the residents
Mhm.
to participate in some of the group things that you guys do there. It's really a unique
Yeah,
relationship you guys have.
it's been really good. We've met there now. Oh, I lose track of the time, but probably for maybe 3 years, something like that. And yeah, we're a little different than other clubs. We meet weekly, and kind of every night is a build night. So when we meet, we bring our models, we build. We're very informal. We don't have a lot of structure. We do business kind of on the side as we need to. But yeah, we were looking for that when we lost our place. Shop we met at closed. We were homeless for 4 or 5 months. So when we connected with the Veterans Home, it was our desire to also connect with them, not just have them as a meeting place. So they've been great. We meet they have a large activity room. We meet there weekly. We just come in, set up, and go. They encourage their residents to come and visit with us. On occasion, we have done a Saturday build day where we've gone in on Saturday and specifically meet with residents to try to encourage them to build. And it's difficult, right? A lot of those men and women just really aren't physically as able to do that, but we like to try to help them. And we've done a couple builds for them, type of thing. So yeah, it's been great. And the home has really embraced us. It's been a wonderful relationship.
So when do you think you're going to be able to go back? Probably what, after this year?
Well, that's the question, right? We're in touch with him. Colin Harmsworth from our group. He's kind of our liaison with them. Yeah, we're expecting the latter half of this year. We're hoping for that. They don't themselves know yet, but we're in regular touch with them. And yeah, I would say hopefully by the last quarter of the year, maybe. But we'll just see. We'll see how the vaccine rollout goes, and of course how all that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to cover that today.
Yeah, right. So, yeah. But yeah, that whole thing, basically we just see how the pandemic plays out, and we'll get there at some point, we're sure.
So how long have you been in the hobby?
Oh, I've got probably the standard story, right? I started in middle school, I'm thinking, probably in the late 60s. I remember those early kits when around the moon landing time, of course, the Saturn V came out. I remember the early, I guess it was a Monogram Enterprise carrier kit, those early ones, big ones, and a lot of stuff there. I built a lot through middle school and high school. And then like a lot of people, took a break, college, whatever, family situations. But I kind of stayed with it tangentially throughout the 80s and 90s. Just a couple kits I built. I still bought magazines occasionally. And then it was about 2005 or 6. Tim Schubert, our founder, actually gave me a call and recruited me one day. He got my name from IPMS, and I had rejoined. And he invited me to a meeting. So probably since about 2006, I've been kind of all in, really on the deep end, if you will. And it's been a lot of fun.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So since then, you've pretty much just stick to armor, though, right?
Armor and aircraft. I do quite a bit of aircraft as well, and probably have actually more airplanes built than I do tanks over time. So yeah, it's been both, definitely both. And like I said, occasional ship. I've done one Gundam. I've done one car, so I have a lot of respect for car builders. I'll tell you that after doing my one. So, but yeah, almost 95% armor and aircraft.
Okay.
I'm pretty open to scales. I built kind of all scales. So everything from 1/144th up to, I've done 1/32. I have a 1/24th that's sort of in progress, the Typhoon. So anyway, yeah, variety. I'm pretty open. I'm pretty eclectic that way.
So how do you think of the hobby shop situation we have here in this state? You think it could be better, worse?
It's difficult, right? what are there now? I'm aware of the basic ones, right? We've got Trump's Hobbies here in Corvallis, Eugene Toy and Hobby. There's Leisure Hobbies in Salem, and of course, there's a couple in Portland. I know J&S up in Vancouver, and I think there's one out on the west side in Hillsborough area. Oh, and Tammy's, of course. I've been up there quite a bit. Those are kind of the basic ones. We lost the one that was in Albany. Trump's has been a little more limited in terms of their stock in recent years with the difficulty of the COVID thing and all, but they're willing to order. So my assessment is, I don't know, it's kind of what it is, right? It's very difficult for brick and mortar retailers these days. There's no question about it. I like to try to support them. I do a lot of shopping in the local stores and as well as online. I'm an eBay shopper as well for kits and all. And of course at model shows as well. So could always be better, but it's just a difficult thing from a business standpoint. I kind of get it that way. But I think they do a good job. The ones that we have, I think they're trying, and really happy with Leisure Hobbies, really happy with Tammy's. I think they're really trying, and J&S as well. He does a lot of used kits. I think I really am happy they're trying hard to relate to the modelers at our level. So
that's cool, because it just seems like lately there's more and more of them just shutting down here, and it's like
yeah. It's that way. I mean, you saw it with the bookstores. You saw it with that. You're seeing it hit this. It's just kind of the general way of the economy that way. No question.
So, have you gotten into the 3D printed stuff yet? I know. I think you were talking about it.
Yeah, limited, I'll say. I haven't used any yet personally, but I have some kits that have it. Nick Graff Models out of Poland. He does 1/32 aircraft primarily. He does some vehicles and armor as well, but primarily 32nd scale aircraft, the interwar period. So 20s, 30s, and they're starting to do some back into World War I era. But he has really expanded his use of 3D printing within his model kits. So a lot of his internal detail, a lot of his engine detail is now 3D printed. And I just, over the last 6 months, received 3 of his kits that have that in. So I'm very anxious to start one of those and start using it. It looks very good as I've gone through it in the box. I'm really, really happy with it. Yeah.
But you haven't done the big plunge yet, huh?
Oh, no, it's funny. We've talked about that. Matt, of course, talked about Matt Schubert. He has. No, that, I think for me personally, I don't know. I'm just not, it's not going to be my direction. I'll gladly buy what the other people make. But I'm just, the computer work it will take to generate the files, the work of printing, I do enough of that in my day job. And so, no, I'm good. I'll gladly buy what other people want to make. So
cool. So what is it you do for work?
I'm a program manager, a company called with Carrier. They're a large company now. My background is in engineering, a mechanical engineer by training and by a lot of my career in manufacturing. But now I'm a program manager up in Salem. I commute up there. Well, work at home now, but generally commute up there for a company, Onity, that makes lock systems for hotels. So we make door locks, all the security systems that go with that. And so next time you check into a room, you may be using one of our locks. We'll see. But yeah.
So you're the reason we all get locked out of our rooms.
Oh, not with our locks.
That's funny.
No, yeah, it's interesting. I had a long career with Hewlett Packard, inkjet printing, manufacturing with that. A lot of work in the automation area for how we were building our inkjet pens, and I never thought, say, inkjet printing could be such a fascinating career. And it's kind of like that as I'm discovering now with hotel lock systems. I never thought. I thought, well, it's just a lock, but man, there's a lot more to it. So it's been very fun, very good.
So is that kind of position helped your modeling at all?
It's interesting. It's a good question. I would say so. I'm the type of guy. So what I do, obviously, as a program manager, involves planning, involves follow up. Involves leading teams. and providing direction to them and follow through, as well as my technical knowledge to help support that. And yeah, it's a good question because it plays over, right? So as a club president, I get to do some of that in terms of what are we doing next, what would be successful for our club as we move forward. So I get to apply some of my management principles. In terms of my modeling, I've been realizing over this last year about becoming more deliberate in my planning for models, as opposed to open the box, go to step one and say, okay, I start here. And then you get 5 steps into this and you're like, oh crap, wait, what did I not do? So the thought of being more thorough in planning in my personal modeling, like I try to be at work, that's something I need to do. But I think from the engineering side of my life, there's just a natural interest in how airplanes works and what they do. I'm a history buff, really interested in how tanks are applied and that type of thing. So yeah, it all blends together.
Well, that's cool. I got into 3D printing probably about 3 years ago.
I can ask you about that. Yeah.
It's crazy because, like, there for a while, my printer never stopped, and I bet you I haven't printed something out in like 6 months.
Okay, yeah.
It's just crazy. And then I got a new printer, but I can't hook it up because it won't jive with the computer I have. So I have to upgrade my computer.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
So
you find it kind of flops as well. There's times when you're heavy into it, making stuff, and then like you said, there's times where you'll go a few months without needing to do that.
Well, okay, so the last project I did was that really tall robot.
Yeah, I remember that. That's good.
So, I haven't printed anything else since I finished that.
Okay.
And
that took a break for all that. So
that took me well over a year to get all the parts for that, and I still didn't print them all out. That's the worst part.
Oh man. Okay.
It's still, a giant toddler.
I remember that. I remember those discussions we had over that guy. That's good.
Crazy. But when it's done, it'll be a cool piece to take to shows and stuff. At least around here.
Yeah, very much. No, that's great. I think it's great you're doing that stuff. And for the guys that are into it, man, I think it's a great avenue. It's pretty fun to see happen. So
I mean, it's kind of like the small stuff you can add, like putting photo etch on stuff.
Yep, I get that.
It's crazy how much photo etch can change a kit. I'm not very good with photo etch, but it's crazy.
It's a tough deal. Yeah. Photo etch is one of those things you love to hate, right? It's needed and it really helps your model at times, but boy, it can be difficult to work with. Yeah, for sure. So
in one of the other groups, they're doing photo etch that goes together that fits inside of a penny because it's a ship or a plane or a boat on top of an aircraft carrier. So it's like, you're just crazy. But
oh, that's tough. Yeah, we had a guy, Bill Lawrence. He's passed away now. He was in our group for a number of years, and he used to do the little photo etch airplanes. And I know you can get a lot of that now, like you can do whatever Eiffel Tower, Saturn V's, and stuff. But in the early days of that, he did some very small little. I remember he had a Fokker triplane that he did, and amazing. I just, for me, the patience and tedium of doing that. It's just probably not for me, but it's pretty cool to see. I'm impressed when people can do it. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So how many projects do you normally have going at once? Are you just like the one kit guy, or you like earlier, like you always have 5 going at once?
I am more like that person. No, I probably when I first started back into it in the take one, finish it. But no, that's definitely in the last 10 years. I've got several kits going, and like now I've got 5 kind of lined up, and I think part of it is an interest thing. Sometimes you lose a little bit of interest, right? And so you say, oh, okay, I need a break from this, and this is the next new shiny thing, and I grab that and want to start into that.
Or you're waiting for paint to dry.
Yeah, and that too, right? You're at a spot where you do have to wait. And so what am I going to do now? I want to keep building. So exactly. So like I said, I probably on the average have 4 or 5 kits going at a time. but I zero in as I move them. And they all kind of move along, and I've got some ahead of others. And there's always a couple though that I've got more consistently moving. And then at some point I'm really zeroed in to say, okay, I'm going to get this one done, and it becomes my full-time focus that way. And I bounce between two kits that take that kind of road at the end. So like my albatross and my frogfoot now are at the front of the back, and they're getting most of the attention. But like when I get a break, yeah, I'm starting to plan the pavehawk. I've got starting to clean up parts for the T-34 and that type of thing. So it's a bit of a mishmash, but there is kind of a bit of a method to the madness. So, and of course, I'm always looking at the shelf queen file at the pile, right? To say, well, gee, what do I want to pull off that pile that I really should finish? I don't know. It all blends together a little bit.
So how many are actually on the shelf queen bench, though?
Oh man, here, hang on. I'm gonna look and count. I got the pile over here.
Oh, geez.
6, 7. I'm gonna say 15.
15, huh?
I keep a pile under my table next to my workbench here, and so they go in there. So probably about 15 currently on the. I put aside, and I will finish him someday. So, and I do. I eventually get this. They get back on the table, and I finish them. So, yeah.
That's all that matters. I mean,
yeah.
And even
it's like. No, I think that's a good. A lot of people, they feel bad about having these this shelf of doom, right? And my view is it's like a book, right? You get into books, and some books you eat them up, right? Cover to cover, you try to you're done in a week or two, whatever. Other books you're like, I don't know, this is pretty slow. Some books you put aside, right? And I think it's that way with models. There's some you just get into. It's like, crap, this is awesome, and then you're burning through it. And then there's some, frankly, either you hit a hard spot that you don't want to deal with or don't know how, or you just, for some reason, you just lose interest and it goes to the side for a bit. And I think that's fine. I think we can't get too stuck on, I have to finish every model today, that I started, whatever. Yeah, so it's okay. So I try to give myself grace on that area.
Yeah, and then you have that automatic, oh, I need to do something with some fame. So you got to figure out which group build you want to put.
Oh,
so you can finish that.
That's a great topic because I get too many group builds. Like, okay, my Frogfoot, my T-34, and my Pavehawk, and I'm looking over at the kits sitting on the bench. Those are all out of group builds that I've committed to, and man, it's fun. I love it, and we do it within our club. We sponsor a group build every year. We try to do a challenge build where we try to put in front of people, hey, let's try something that is new to you or you haven't done. Like we did a vacuum form build last year. Oh man, that was a learning. Various things. So, but you're right. These things add up, and it's like, oh crap, I got 4 kits I have to build that are just from commitments, and what do I want to build that I just want to build? So, yeah, it's a balancing act.
It's cool to have a deadline. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but 80% of the time I don't hit that deadline. it's just how it is. I'm really bad about that, but I don't get as much time at the bench anymore. So,
it's a difficult thing, and I think we got to go back to what's fun.
Oh yeah,
you're right. Deadlines they're great sometimes, and they push you to really get something done when you may not get anything done. But we can't. We got to make it fun, and the deadlines are kind of artificial, frankly. And so we should build what we want to build, how we want to build it, at the pace we want to build. And I think you're right. It plays into life, right? My job's very demanding. It helps working at home. I get a little more time, but normally my build time is kind of limited, and it's that way for various people, family situations, whatever it is. So we have to be realistic that way. Yeah. And I think, it's interesting as a club president, I have had to learn too. I mean, I'm super passionate on this hobby. I'm like an evangelist for it. Everybody, in my view, should be doing this and building all the time. But you also got to you have to learn to accept where people are at. And some guys are all in, and some guys are like, they need the space, or they have other commitments, and it's fine. You just let people be who they are. So yeah.
It especially this last year, it's kind of crazy how more and more people are asking like the modelers questions because they ain't got nothing else to do.
Yep, it's been a boom in that way. Yeah, totally. I would agree. So I finished 9 kits last year. I have never finished 9 kits before. I work at home now, right? So my work day starts early, 6:30 or so, and I work until, well, I don't know, typically 5 o'clock or thereabouts. Sometimes evenings. But when I'm done, I can walk right upstairs. I'm good to go. So yeah, exactly. And not going anywhere on the weekends. So yeah, it's been very helpful that way.
Yeah, it's, it seems like there's an uptick, and it's been kind of cool helping certain people, get into it. What, like the question I had the other day is like, if you had $100, what would you buy? And I'm like, that's a damn good question.
I'd buy some, I'd buy some kit in the PE to go with it. So yeah, it's funny. It is. I think so. I think our hobby, excuse me. I think our hobby, for those that are inclined, is a great hobby for all the reasons that we kind of alluded to. Right. It gives you something constructive and fun to do. I think it's fun. Obviously, it ties you in either with something you're interested in history, or maybe in the entertainment world with science fiction, whatever it is that way. And you're creating something that when you're done, you made it. You created it. So I think it's very helpful for people that are so inclined. And it's kind of interesting because we've gone to shows, like there's a car show typically about now in January in Albany. And we've always had a booth there where we get about 5-6 people, and we work on models and build, and people come by and see what we're doing. And we've done that at a number of places. And almost to a person, everybody thinks it's really cool. They're very interested. Many of the people have had the same story that we kind of shared, where, oh yeah, I did that as a kid, got away from it, and we always encourage them that, hey, this can be a very much adult hobby as well, obviously. So there is this innate connection people seem to have with this type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much as the hobby back then was for like kids, right?
Yes.
You can't say that anymore. It's not, well, to be honest, kids can do this. There's Gundams, there's,
yeah.
But a lot of the stuff they won't even sell you if you're not even 18.
I think that's a good point. The complexity, the hobby, I agree. I think the hobby currently is geared towards adults in terms of the type of kits produced, the material it takes to make them. And I guess there's probably restrictions on, I don't know, glues and paints and stuff. I don't know exactly, but
there's model kits that you have to be 16, I think.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. I'm not aware. Okay, yeah.
There's like, if you look at some of the newer kits, it says 18 and above, and the stores won't sell it to you if you're not.
Okay, well, that's news to me. Okay, that's interesting. So, but yeah, I think that just the complexity of what we're seeing today in the kits that are coming out, it is difficult for the younger kids. I mean, they have the snap tights, they have other stuff, and it is becoming a more adult hobby, and that's fine. I think as adults, I mean, well, okay, I say that's fine. I get it. You always want kids involved because that's the next generation. That's very difficult today with the competing things that younger people deal with. But you can still find kits that apply to the younger generation. And then obviously for us at our ages, as adults with families and after, boy, there's a lot there to keep you attracted that way. So it's a good place. The hobby's in a very good place, I think. And of course, it's now mostly, over the internet or whatever for maybe buying stuff more so than the local shops. But those days may be behind us soon. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. But like kids now, I think that's where 3D printing is going to launch from and is becoming more and more popular because the kids are learning all the software to make their own stuff.
That could well be. And I think if you notice, at least Well, it varies, but the sci-fi fantasy figures, all of that, there seems to be a lot of that in the 3D printing world, from what I can see. I mean, there's a lot of aftermarket stuff for whatever ships and stuff, but from what I can tell, like from the work you do, there's a lot in the fantasy sci-fi world that's happening in that area, if I'm seeing that correctly.
I mean, these are the tabletop, and that's another thing. Tabletop gaming.
Yes, very big now. Yeah.
I have one hobby shop, but I have 5 stores that do this stuff.
Yep, I believe it. Yeah.
And it's like, and there's a social aspect to it. So I understand it. It's not just, maybe not this last year it's been very social, but you can once the world opens back up, I think the kids are going to go right back to it, because you have to go a place, or you got to create a group of your peers, right, to get a table, get trained, get the figures. I mean, it's wargaming.
I would agree, and I think that's a really good thing. I think most kids in the younger generation today, they're not going to be as tied into, say, World War II as we were, right? There's just such a separation now. So I think the whole fantasy sci-fi genre in the tabletop gaming is huge, and with the popularity of a lot of science fiction films we see now, that's going to be a natural draw. And I think you're right. And even on the more historical side, a lot of now the computer games for the wargaming that goes on. I mean, I guess it's first person type of stuff, but that leads into a lot of tabletop games as well for that. And you need little models for that, right? You see them now in the hobby shops. And so I think you're right. I think there's a real social aspect that's real valuable and real good and very fun. Yeah, totally. I think that's real good.
Well, and I don't know this to be sure, but it seems like we've went away from like the World War I and II models, and we're starting to see a little bit more of Desert Storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's where kids, that's the dad's war, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
My dad was Vietnam. I don't know how old you are, but it's sure World War II, right? For you.
Yeah, primarily. I mean, I'm in my early 60s. My dad served in Korea. My wife, her father, my father-in-law, he is a World War II veteran. He's 90. He's going to turn 99 this year, and but you're right, that linkage is going away, and it's interesting. Just yesterday, I was listening to a modeling podcast that was a roundtable discussion on armor, and they were talking about that very thing, that modern armor subjects are becoming much more prevalent now, because you have the Desert Storm veterans that are now approaching retirement, right? And they're getting back into the hobby with more time available, and they're building what they worked with. And so you're starting to see more of that come to the forefront. Yeah, I would totally agree. It is generational, and I think you're right. Well, World War I made a bit of a resurgence with the anniversary, the 100th anniversary recently. And so you're seeing a little bit more of that. But in general, I think you're right. As time goes on, those items fade in a little bit to the past, and takes a more specialized group to want to keep that going.
Yeah, and it's just crazy the what has happened over the past year, just with the, like, some model companies are like, their sales are booming.
Yeah.
And then there's other companies that just close their doors. They just, and it's hit and miss.
Yeah. I think for the companies that are maybe better run, that anticipate a little better, you're right. It's been a boom. And so it's been really good. And I think just what little bit of anecdotal stuff I hear from what I read, in general, it has been that way. But you're right. We just had Squadron close their doors. I don't think so much from the pandemic as opposed to their own internal issues, but still, other companies, they can't make the adjustments, and they go out, and that's sad to see, but it's kind of a reality, unfortunately. So yeah, very difficult time, no question about it.
So when are we going to see Doug do a figure?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, I did one last year. I built a Marine Saulnier aircraft, World War I French aircraft, and and I wanted to put a pilot. So I did a little 1/48 French pilot, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Now, small, very small. Enjoyed that. Okay, it's funny you asked that because I've had this hankering to do a figure, and so I have bought a number of figures over the years in the hope of doing this. And just a few weeks ago, Jim Lash from the Salem Group, he kind of challenged us to say, let's do a figure challenge build. And he wanted to do, I think, 90 millimeter, I think. It was the smallest. Maybe I had that right. 54, I forget. I think
you wanted to do busts and stuff, right?
What's that?
Because these, oh, where'd it go?
I think his would have been like 1/10 scale or something like that, 1/12. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he had some, but you could do busts. So he kind of say, hey, let's do a figure this year. And he wants to do that. And I've been really resisting since I always jump on the latest group build. But I don't know. I've been thinking maybe I need to do that. So long answer, but you might see one soon. So a real one.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy when you get some of the armor kits and tanks and planes, and you can do a little bitty figure.
Yeah.
For them, and it's not. It's different than doing something like this, right? I mean, it's different than doing something like that.
Very much, I would agree. But
it's just the scale and how much detail you can get in the face, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing, and you know, when you think of it, like, okay, excuse me, I did my get some water here. I did my French pilot for the purpose of showing off the aircraft, right? So I think he's very passable. I was very happy with him, but he's a secondary figure to really just augment, give you some perspective on the aircraft. When you do a larger scale figure for, like, say, on your own, and let's say the end result, you'd say, well, boy, I want to enter this in a show or something, then you're really doing it for the value of the figure itself. And the larger ones, yeah, then all the details come out. How does the face really look? How do the eyes really look? You know, and those are all skills to learn. So yeah, I'm kind of eager to try that at some point. I don't know if it'll be quite soon or maybe next year. I don't know, but we'll see. So it's a very intriguing thing. Are you familiar? There's a company called Mr. Black out of Greece. I've been kind of following their stuff, and
they do the, like, from like chest up, like military pilot, soldier, right? Is that what we're talking about?
No, I mean, they'll do that, but they do all figures. They do ancient history, I'll say, you know, as far back as I don't know, whatever, Roman times, I'll say, up through today. They do, I don't know if they do, I haven't seen so much fantasy stuff out of there, but they do everything from the dioramas up to you know, just the regular figures for display. But they have a series of publications called Mr. Black publications that are quite good for teaching some of the stuff and for seeing how modern figure painters operate. So it's very enjoyable. I've got several of they kind of like a magazine type of thing. So yeah, so
that's cool. There's so many miniature companies.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know, it's hard to even keep them all straight. Totally.
I mean, and you know, the cool thing is with miniatures, you can paint it one way and then take all the paint off and then completely do it another way. It's like,
yeah.
I do that with some model cars and stuff, because you know, that's funny because I read about that. Guys don't like what they do, like on the cars, especially, and they'll strip it all down and redo it. And I've never done that. I've never been able to, I've never stripped a model and then repainted. Maybe because I don't do many cars, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. Usually once I paint, even if I'm not happy with it, I'm done. I'm on to the next model. So yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's been about an hour.
Okay.
I've answered all the questions I have. Did you have any for me?
I think we touched on it. I was real curious on the 3D work you've done, and let me ask you this: do you enjoy the prep work that goes into the 3D printing? I mean, it would seem like you must. It's a lot of the work to generate the files and the designs and the CAD work.
So I don't do that part. I'm
Oh.
going to be honest. I don't have time to sit in front of a computer. I mean, I barely have time to sit at this desk.
Yeah.
But what I do is I get go to Thingiverse. I buy files from Xanax, Game Body.
Yeah.
And I just print out the file.
Yeah.
And put it together. I mean, someday I'd like to, not work 70 hours a week so I could have time to do that. But it's I would have to, start over pretty much again. So it's just a little bit crazy on the whole. You start with a hole and then the rabbit just goes all the way down.
Totally believe that. Yeah, I can totally believe
if it
that.
comes out the other side, you're lucky. I don't know.
It's funny. I have those same thoughts. I'm probably about 4 or 5 years away from retirement, and I have those same thoughts about, boy, that'll be a nice day when I can spend half my day chasing those rabbits a little bit more. So it'll come, but it's hard to wait. So no, it's good. This is great. And I love what you're doing, by the way. I really appreciate I've watched a few of your YouTube, where you talk about what you've been modeling recently and stuff. And it's been great. And I think this is a great series you're starting. It's very fun. So
so far people seem to like this, so I'm going to keep doing it. It's getting people on here is going to be the challenge. I think I've got enough right now. I could go 4 or 5 weeks, and occasionally I'm going to do a break. So it's not every week or, there's a holiday or, whatever. But it seems like everybody's enjoying these. So I'm going to keep doing them.
Good. Well, I encourage that. Very good. Yeah, it's very good.
But anyway, thanks for coming on, Doug. This has been a lot of fun. I am going to end the broadcast.
Okay.
Like I said, if when you're in your groups and people want to come on this or do, an hour with me, just tell them to get in contact with me. Because I know there's going to be a couple out of your group that I think want to do this.
Excellent. Yeah, I'd be glad to promote it. I have a few people in mind, Matt being one of them. I'll reach out to him and no, I think that's great. And I'll definitely try to help you with that. So very good. And it's been a real privilege to be on. I really appreciate it. So.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
We can end this. Oh, yeah, there we go.